Hi, everybody. My name is Scott Chantler. I'm the creator of many graphic novels you may have seen or read going back more than 20 years, covering everything from historical biography to kids' fantasy.
Today, I'll be talking about my next book, which is actually one of my old books. Tower of Treasure is the first book in my Three Thieves series, which was originally published in Canada between 2010 and 2016, and which will be re-released starting in February 2025 from my new friends at Papercuts.
But first, a bit about my favorite subject, me.
I've been making comics for as long as I can remember. Here are a couple of them I made when I was staying at my grandmother's house in 1976.
That's right, I'm old.
I live in Stratford, Ontario, Canada, a quaint small city best known for its world-class theater festival, or, if you're a 14-year-old in 2009, as the birthplace of Justin Bieber.
I'm also the father of two boys, who are adults now, but that brings us back to the Three Thieves books. Because when my older son was 3 years old, way back in 2006, he asked if I could write a story with a castle in it. At the time, I wasn't picturing myself as a children's cartoonist, but what parent could resist?
I also really loved fantasy stuff as a kid, comic books like Conan the Barbarian and The Warlord. Warlord was my favorite because he wasn't brooding like Conan. He seemed to actually enjoy being an action hero. He had a sword and a gun, but no shirt for some reason. He was ready for anything except the cold.
So when you're a writer and someone gives you a prompt like a story with a castle in it, that's all it really takes to get the wheels turning. You start thinking, who lives in this castle? What's their problem? What are they doing to try to solve it? Who stands against them? And why? And, pretty soon you've got a story. Or, as things rolled along, 7 stories.
Page 2 of that first book, Tower of Treasure, is a splash page of a castle. So I delivered on my son's request right away, and then just did whatever I wanted for the rest of the series. The books revolve around a trio of traveling circus performers. Dessa, our main character, is a teenage acrobat. Topper is a juggler who also puts his fast hands to work as an unapologetic pickpocket. And Fisk is the circus strongman. In the first book, they arrive in the royal city of Kingsbridge, where a combination of poverty and a disrupted first performance lead them into an ill-advised scheme to rob the Queen's treasury, which also goes awry.
They're captured and thrown in the dungeon, which is where things get really interesting.
Because Dessa, the acrobat, is an orphan who's been searching nearly her whole life for her long-lost twin brother, who was kidnapped by a mysterious stranger when they were small children. The royal chamberlain, who's the one who's ordered them locked up, is that mysterious stranger. Dun dun dun! Needless to say, Dessa wants to escape from the prison, not just to avoid being executed, but to find out once and for all what happened to her brother. She and her friends are able to free themselves, only to find that the Chamberlain has fled the city. They decide to chase him, but first they have to escape the palace. The Queen, of course, is not very pleased that these would-be thieves have escaped from her dungeon, so she orders the knights from her hand-picked royal guard to recapture them and bring them back, and then we're off to the races. The rest of the series is a progression of high-stakes chases and escapes, as Dessa and her friends try to overtake the Chamberlain and learn his secrets, while the knights, led by the driven Captain Drake, are hot on their heels.
Now, when I was a kid, I was a fan of an old TV show called The Fugitive, which was all over afternoon TV and reruns at the time.
It had the same structure where the main character, Dr. Richard Kimball, was chasing someone while also being chased himself. It always felt to me like a perfect story setup, full of potential for all kinds of drama. The hero can nearly catch up to who they're chasing, they can nearly be caught by the person chasing them, or if you're looking to really crank things up, all three can be in the same place at once.
So I was more than happy to borrow that structure. It was only later in life that I learned that the creator of The Fugitive, Roy Huggins, had himself borrowed that structure from Victor Hugo's Les Miserables, which is totally cool. If it works, it works. And as the old saying goes, if you're going to steal, steal from Tiffany's.
Something else I've always been a fan of is old silent action films. Before there was sound in movies, movement was how the story got told. Think of all the great physical comedians of that era like Charlie Chaplin or Buster Keaton or Harold Lloyd. The action movie version of those guys was Douglas Fairbanks, whose films were full of just outrageous and entertaining stunts. I wanted Three Thieves to have that same kind of physical rambunctiousness, so each of the 7 books is built around 1 or 2 big, elaborate action sequences, where our trio of title characters have to get themselves out of some sort of jam, using all of their various circus skills to do so.
It's all a lot of fun, and I'm so glad that these books are going to be back in print for a wider audience and a new generation of readers.